Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to talk about Last Epoch, which is an ARPG, as many of you guys know, and it got recommended thousands of times throughout the last couple of years to finally give it a shot. And you probably find yourself in the same position as me, like probably done with the PoE League by now. It's just me, but personally did not really enjoy the new season in Diablo 4, the season 3. And yeah, what to do with my time right now? Well, let's check out some other games. And I got my hands on Last Epoch. I started the game about 4 days ago. I currently have, I think, about, let me see, about 30 hours into the game, leveling up 2 characters. With this one is my shaman boy, and this one is my druid. So today I want to give you guys my first impression about the game. It's not a review because obviously for like doing a review means you need to have like a good understanding about the game to really like cover all the bits and pieces there are. But for me, as a complete noob and fresh player in this game, my first impression after 30 hours leveling 2 characters, so I guess I'm a campaign enjoyer, and what kind of like my own personal feelings about the game, what you can do, achieve, how good do I think it is, and so on and so forth. So if you're a veteran player, then I'm sorry if I explain certain things wrong, but it's just about me trying to give an impression for people that have never really played the game. Good, I would say let's start right away. I will make a lot of comparisons to Path of Exile. I mean, obviously Path of Exile is my main game since the last, what is it, like 7 years or something, like 14,000 hours. So, and I do think that the majority of people watching this video will come from Path of Exile, from my channel, or from other sources. So I'm gonna make a lot of like comparisons to Path of Exile when I say, hey, the endgame system reminds me of Delft, and this is basically PoE specific, but a PoE player will basically understand. Anyways, so basically, let's take a look at the character screen. What kind of like what about the character diversity? What about the build diversity, right? So you have like here your 5 main characters, which are basically your starting class, but these are not the ones that you're playing. It's just like you have like one main character. This one here is, for example, the Primalist. That is the one that I'm playing, which can then basically evolve, ascendant, develop himself into either a Beastmaster, a Shaman, or a Druid, which is basically, in comparison, hey, this is the Ranger, you can go Deadeye, Pathfinder, or Raider, for example, right? So you always have like your main class, which is one of the 5, and all of these classes have their 3 sub-ascendancies. Not all are available right now. So here on the Rogue, we have like the Blade Dancer, the Marksman, and the Falconeer, which is currently locked. This will get released when the game goes live, as far as I know. And here, for example, we have the Lich. It's like your typical Necromancer kind of theme, with the Necromancer, the Lich, and the Warlock sub-ascendancy. So I would say, let's just log into one of my characters. This one is a totem character. Yes, MBX is playing a totem build, okay? And this is actually freaking good. And here I have like my druid. So why did I pick the druid as my starting class? Well, basically, I had no idea what I get myself into, and this was actually the one question that I asked myself the most in the start, you know? Which character to pick? Because in the end of the day, if you're playing Path of Exile or Diablo or anything like that, you kind of like figure out the way when you say like, hey, I like bruiser characters, I like warriors, berserks, and stuff like that, which then you kind of get an idea like, hey, I want to play a melee character. But this game just offers you so many build varieties and stuff that, like, I think every character has like some form of like a melee kind of style, basically, right? That was like the worst thing. My decision on going for the Druid was simply, I really enjoy Druid in every game I play. I play Druid in Diablo 4, I play Druid in World of Warcraft, as well as when PoE 2 comes live, I'm certainly going to play Druid there as well. I think there's going to be an Ascendancy or the shape-shifting and stuff like that. I know it's a spoiler, but hey, surprise, it's going to be a Druid as my League starter for Path of Exile 2 once it comes out, right? So I said, like, you know what, I trust the Druids in this, in all the games that I play, so let's just go with the Druid and just, you know, start it up, level, and then you're gonna figure out things on the way, on the fly anyways. And my, let's say, experience in the game is probably like 1% of the entire game, because I'm just really scratching on the surface. Good, let's talk about the gearing aspect. You basically have your general, you know, helmet, weapons, boots, relics. This one is idols, which is just like like charms in Diablo, for example, where you just get or find these randomly, and then you can say like, hey, this gives resistance, I'm lacking resistance, let's put some in. So this is like an extra inventory for your idols, and you are unlocking those in the campaign. Then you have like your crafting materials that I'm going to talk in a bit, and other than that, basically you have your basically your skill tree, which means I'm the primalist, as I just explained before, your main character, which with his core abilities basically, and then you have your 3 sub-ascendancies. So I picked the druid. This is something about level 20, 25 or something, when you can go and specialize into one of those forms. But the thing is, you can still spec into other things, right? Just to give you guys, this is that's why I say like this is the first character that I played, and there is like a bazillion others, so I can just talk about the druid because this is the experience that I made. Basically, this is then your druid skill tree. The more points you spec into, the more stuff you're unlocking here on the bottom. For example, I think when you spend like 5 points or something, you get the Spriggan form. When you spend like 10 points or so, you get the next ability, and that works the same way with the Beastmaster, unlocking the Summon Bear, the Scorpion, and other things basically. But you're gonna see one difference here. The Beastmaster and the Shaman do have a chain in the middle, while the druid has not. This means I'm a druid. I identify myself as a druid, means that I can spec into the shaman tree, and I can spec into the beastmaster, making a hybrid, but you can only progress further in your skill tree with the one that you wanted to play, right? So if I say druid, now I can spec into all the last things about the druid, but I cannot progress further into shaman above this chain, but I can still spec into shaman basically, right? So I'm doing the druid, I'm getting my werebear, I'm getting like my different forms, so every ascendancy basically has their special abilities. And my build right now, just to give you like a little bit of a taste when it comes to build variety. So I'm basically the shape-shifting guy, so there is multiple shape-shifting forms that you can unlock. For example, your Spriggan form. Let me actually quickly pull up a couple of forms here, so they're on not on cooldown basically. Where's my... So this is like my form with all my normal abilities, like Leap Slam or something like that, or what is it called here, Fury Leap. And the specialization of Druid is, for example, the Werebear, turning my mana into Rage and unlocking new abilities like Rampage, like a Charge ability, like a Slam ability, and certain things like that. Then you have like your Spriggan form, which is like, I call it Groot, you know, the same, the next form is called Blade. Swarmblade, I think. I call it Kha'Zix from League of Legends. So this is Groot. He's like a bearded mustache guy that is basically summoning totems in like kind of a supporting role with shields and veins and stuff like that. And then you have the Swarmblade, as I said, my Kha'Zix form. So I'm turning myself into an insect and can use different abilities here, like spawning like locust swarms and things that are basically fighting for me, right? But this is not like a druid guy. I just wanted to showcase that this character is just basically your classical shapeshifter. And I picked myself to be this kind of like, what is it, Blade Swarm character, which is then my main form. There is sources of sustaining rage to permanently be in this form. But the thing is, this is like your melee kind of like combat hack and slash kind of like character, but the thing is, in this version of the build, I'm actually playing Tornado, and this is a shaman skill. So why do I play Druid if I'm actually using Tornado or a shaman skill as my main skill? Well, basically there is a bunch of synergies within the skill trees, and that actually is good that I pulled this one up. These are all the abilities. These are like Beastmaster specific and the special of when I'm going into the Beastmaster specialization, right? Shaman gets like the Storm Totem and the Druid gets the Werebear form. As I was explaining before, you have like this chain so you cannot progress further. So like a Druid can unlock, I think, Earthquake and summon Scorpion, but it cannot unlock, for example, summon Sabertooth, because this is like way too many points into the Beastmaster. I think this the kind of way it works, right? But what am I doing here? Basically, while you're progressing, you're leveling your skills with you. So your character has a skill tree, and your skills also have the skill tree. So if I say, hey, these are the abilities that I want to use, and I have here, for example, my Swarmblade form that you can just like drag and drop up here, and these are the skills you can level, and these are the ones that are available for everybody, right? Or at least like for the primalists in that case. So I open my Swarmblade, and every single skill has their different talent trees basically. And the cool thing here is there is a bunch of like combinations. These are like these hexagons or sexagons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 corners. It's a sexagon. Come on. And these are basically changing the way skills work. For example, here I have like you gain a stack of Howling Cascade when you use Blade Slash. When you hit at least an enemy, reaching 6 stacks consumes them to cast a tornado. So basically, when I'm like basically slashing the enemies, I get stacks passively, and then I'm creating tornadoes. So that's why I have, for example, a tornado in my skill tree. So the tornadoes then further get empowered. There is things like damage conversion. There are things like proccing stuff and so on and so forth. So if I'm gonna pick the Werebear and it has like things, hey, if you're casting your Maul ability, you will also cast, for example, Entangling Roots, which is like an area of effect rooting ability, and then I can do the roots into cold conversion and make them like do damage over time and stuff. So just as a brief overview, a lot of things to explore, many different customizations. It's just like finding the right way of basically experiencing that, right? So as I said, I'm basically just gonna load up one of these maps before I'm actually talking about the monolith system, the Endgame, just so you get an idea what am I even talking about, right? So actually I should explain this one in the next page. Endgame. How does the endgame in Path of Exile, and Last Epoch look like? So these are your monoliths, which are basically zones where you can then load up your maps, or your echoes in this case, right? So this is like your zones, and in those zones you have a certain web of maps basically. Okay, that sounds complicated in my own words, but it's similar to Delve. That means you are into your specific zone, and each zone has their different echoes and rewards basically. So I'm going to this kind of thing here, and this is basically my kind of like web of echoes, and the more echoes I do, which are basically maps, so I don't have to roll my maps, it's just like they are getting rolled for me, so I just need to complete them. I'm getting this every time I complete one, I get stability, and the further you see here the first quest mark, I can already do the first quest of this monolith, and the further I go, I have to do like these 2 quests, and then the third quest is basically the boss of the zone, and this one let me progress further. So I would say let's just load up an echo. This one, for example, has different modifiers like increased rarity, experience gain, and the echo rewards are bows and quivers, which is not really for my character, but we're gonna do it anyways, right? So we are loading the echo, we are basically entering the map. So in this example here, I'm playing my Swarm Blade. I will attack the enemies with my slashes and my dashes, and as you already see, this ability is called Maelstrom. It's similar to like Blade Vortex in that case, and this is getting procced every time I dash. So that means I have my Maelstrom over here. There is synergies in the Swarm Blade where it says, hey, if you dash, you're gonna cast a Maelstrom. So I'm speccing into Maelstrom, making it even stronger. So I'm dashing around and like passively stacking up these Maelstrom stacks. And as you see, as I explained before, with just auto-attacking, I'm proccing a multitude of spells here. Mainly the tornado that is basically above my character, and this is not the way it usually works, because tornado is basically a self-cast ability. If I would put it up somewhere over here, so we say we have here the tornado is basically an ability just like a tornado like in Diablo, right? But this one usually travels. But I have a note on my tree somewhere, I don't know if it was the Swarmblade form itself or in the tornado tree, I think it was in tornado tree, where it basically says tornado and attached to you wherever you move. So if I wouldn't have this skill point, the tornado would just like fly around. So what am I doing? I'm going into my Swarmblade form. The attacks that I'm using, the arm blade slashes, are proccing tornadoes, and the tornadoes are then attached to me thanks to my skill tree and basically following me around, basically like a righteous fire kind of like style of character. And you probably already see the thing where we are going with the builds, and this is just like one build out of like probably 1,000 different builds that you can play with, like uniques and legendaries and build enabling items which completely change the pace of your character or what you can do. Very similar basically in Path of Exile with the customization of your build, where there's just like certain uniques are just mandatory for certain builds to activate certain things. So we're here in the map. This is basically now the map boss, or at least the echo objective, which is basically over here. So now and the echo, the map is complete, it's always like what you have to do. It's usually a quest in here, whether it's like an arena where you have to like defeat waves of monsters, or there's the boss that you have to kill, or certain objectives. And once you're done with the objectives, you can open the portal, you go into this like reward room. So this is like a chest that is basically we say just a normal reward chest where you get items, and this is the one which is basically giving you a reward. So it should now be like quivers and bows and stuff like that, so you can target farm certain pieces specifically on the echoes that you're doing, right? So basically this was like a small little map showcase. As I said, endgame wise, there's like 3 different parts over here. What I'm doing here is like the basic echo. This is like your learn to play kind of style of doing these things, right? I have my monolith, and in this monolith there is like this web of like echoes. I'm completing echoes, I'm defeating the boss, and then I can move on to the next kind of like monolith. And I would like to know if I can port back to town. It's like the loading screens are a little bit too long for my taste. It's one of the downsides right now, but this is gonna get fixed as soon as the game gets released, as far as I heard. Quick sip. So back onto the action. So now I've done here this monolith, right? Or at least like one echo within. So the other 2 is already done. I was running echoes, I defeated the boss, and now I can move on to the next one. So once I defeated enough echoes, defeated the end boss, then I can move on to the next one. So there is a variety of these kind of like monoliths, and they are basically used to farm or to get not only gear and rewards and character power, but you also get blessings. A blessing is basically based on the monolith. So this is a list of all the monoliths, the areas that I was just showing you one, right? And all of these monoliths do have blessings. So the blessings can basically, or dropping off the every time you defeat the end boss, and then you can go again and keep on doing that. And these blessings are basically just power-ups that are permanent for your character. Means I'm doing like in this area here of Fall of the Outcast, these are the ones that can drop. So it's not like, hey, you can just pick out of one of everything, but it's just like the first time I defeated the boss, when I moved on to the next zone, these were the 3 that I found, and this is the one that I basically picked up. This was from the second, and now I will basically then furthermore unlock the 3rd one, basically. This online keeps on going. It's like just power spike based on the monolith. But this is just like, as I said, the first base of this monolith system. And once I will progress into the last 3 here, this is what I've read from a guide. These should be level 90 zones or something. And once I done all these 3, I can convert my monolith into empowered monoliths, which gonna be like level 100 and like a lot harder than before, but therefore also more rewarding. But it's not even stopping there. Once you get your empowered monolith, you can then further go into corrupting your monolith or something like that. Means the corruption level determines how hard the monsters are and how much loot you're gonna get. And as an example, like if you have a build that can run like corruption 1000, you have like an insane build, because it's like deep delve, for example. Like it's infinite scaling, and this kind of like gives you the urge to like keep on grinding, basically. So this is the base setup. Then I would go into empowered once I'm able to finish the rest here, and then once I do the empowered ones, there should be some corruption influence. I haven't seen that yet, so I need to experience that myself, but this is just the way it kind of like, I think it's gonna work. Like you complete more of those, you get more corruption, everything gets harder, and then there is ways to lower the corruption if you say it's like too hard and stuff like that. So pretty cool. But it's not only the only end game where you say, hey, this is everything you can do. No, there is dungeons. I haven't done any before. People say it's like a raid, and then you have like the arena modus, which is not PvP. It's more like, you know, you stand in the middle, and there's like waves of monsters coming in, and you have to defeat the waves in order to level up your arena and then try to go as high as possible. There is leaderboards for everything, like how far did somebody come in the terms of like how many waves did somebody defeat in the arena and stuff like that, with the different builds they have played, and so on and so forth. So good. We covered a little bit like what do you do in endgame. Campaign was really smooth. You have like your typical resistance kind of like pattern. You have armor, you have block chance, you have dodge, you have like all kinds of ARPG elements in the game. And the next thing is loot filter, for example. So there is a one loot filter here, and this is like completely customizable. This was like my first attempt MBX loot filter, okay, where I said like, you know what, I don't really care about normal items or magic items. Just show me rare or uniques or something like that, right? So, but yeah, when you then download a filter that is pre-made from websites like Maxroll and so on, where I said, hey, I have the build that I'm playing from Maxroll, and they are typically giving you a loot filter for that specific class because it's more like a solo self-found. And this is what it would look like. Let's see, Primalist, Tornado, Lightning, Swarmblade, and this is a loot filter. I think Bena's Hole made the build, another content creator, that gives you this kind of loot filter, but it is, let's say, kind of self-explanatory, but it's still gonna be a lot of effort to just go through, because the problem is I personally don't know what kind of items can drop in there, right? So I would say, hey, add a rule, and then you have like this window. Okay, what do I want to see? What do I want to highlight, for example? Hey, I want to have any, I don't know, unique item that is, I don't know, and which has a certain stat, and you can just completely modify your own loot filter, giving it different like colorings, or yeah, you know, just a loot filter kind of thing that is built in the game, which is not too hard to understand. But obviously I'm sticking to like pre-made filters for now, because I personally don't know what can drop and what items or what affixes and stuff like that I'm actually looking for. But just to let you know, there is a very, very good self-customizable filter in the game where you can set up everything just with a couple of commands and like rules that you can like put in. Good. Let's go over one thing that I think is pretty freaking cool, and this is the crafting system. So the crafting system in this game is basically your forge, where you can basically add your gear and modify it, okay, to say it the simplest way. There is 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes, and if I put in an item over here, let me actually see if I have one that actually has some forging potential. Not right now. So basically these are the 4 modifiers, my 2 prefixes, my 2 suffixes, and the way you can level these things, or basically I have found a weapon here, right? This was just like from the last echo. So this weapon, I put it in here, and you see when you alt it, it has 1 prefix and 1 suffix. That means I can add a prefix and I can add a suffix, and I can also upgrade these kind of like tiers, because there is a total of 7 tiers in total, where 5 tiers are craftable. So this one is a tier 1 mod. I can just simply upgrade this to the next tier and keep on going, but you can go up to maximum of tier 5, and tier 6 and tier 7 are only drop exclusive. So you cannot craft the highest modifiers, but you can simply modify your item in a way where you say, hey, these are the kind of like tiers and items that I would need, which is very deterministic, but also RNG based. What do I mean with that? So if I put this like random item that I just found in here, you're gonna see here the forging potential, which has currently a value of 15. What takes how much, I'm not really sure about, but every time you craft something, you're losing forging potential, and that means there is a limit on how long and how much can you craft on an item. For example, the items that I currently have equipped have forging power 0, means I cannot further modify them anymore. That means, in terms of like endgame, is what I think, you're gonna have like the really the best bases, but it's still kind of like RNG, what kind of rolls are there, and you can modify them on a certain pace. But as soon as the item reaches forging potential 0, you either got lucky and got the right modifiers, or you just didn't, right? So let's say we want to craft this thing. I can just simply add modifiers based on shards. So the shard system, you're gonna either find shards, or you can basically, let me see, destroy items. So this one has, for example, it has critical strike chance, both physical damage and stun chance. If I say, hey, there are certain modifiers that I want to have or not have in my crafting materials, I can just use this rune of shattering, and I can shatter the item, basically dissolving it. And wait, this time I just didn't get any shards, I think. Basically, I have a chance of getting those shards, or at least those are the shards that I just got. There was probably just like a small little oopsie in the UI, but I just destroyed this item, I shattered it, and I got these materials out, right? And I can basically just, with a click of a button here, I can get all these crafting materials into my crafting orders, which I say, hey, I have 1,100 shards available to craft my gear, and I can also sort my items and stuff like that. But to go further, these are the shards that I need, okay? So if I would open up my materials, I have, for example, chance to slow on hit. I have 8 shards of those. I have 13 shards with health on kill. I have 9 shards of chance to shred armor on hit. So you basically have all the crafts available, but you need to find shards, or you need to find items that have those specific modifiers to then shatter them to get the crafting materials out of it, basically, right? So let's go ahead and proceed crafting this, for example, weapon. I don't know what I would use that for, but let's just assume, hey, this is a damage over time build, so I want to have damage over time, so we're going to add the affix. Boom, I added now damage over time, but I lost fortune power. So that basically means I can add whatever I want. I can chaos orb things or annul things or modify the item in the way that I want, which is pretty deterministic, but it's always based on fortune potential, which basically just means how long can you craft on an item. And if I say, hey, I can either use a suffix, but do I need a suffix? Not really, because a suffix will cost fortune potential. I'd rather upgrade my critical strike multiplier. But hey, what if I'm playing a damage over time build and the critical strike multiplier doesn't do anything for me? There is basically some glyphs which basically alternate the outcomes of the crafts. So if I say clear, this is just like, hey, I just added damage over time. That's super fine, right? If I would say, hey, I'm gonna use a glyph of chaos, which basically re-rolls the modifier. So this would be one way to change the outcome. So I'm using a glyph of chaos on the critical strike multiplier. So what is the goal? I clicked here on this up button, means I want to upgrade this one stat, but the glyph of chaos added to it means the modifier will get changed. So it will get upgraded to some tier 3 and change in the value or something, right? So let's do that. Boom. Now I have T3 necrotic damage. So do I use necrotic damage or something? But at least it's not crit strike multiplier, for example, right? For the cost of fortune potential, you can re-roll certain stats and affixes on your items and on your gear. And then there's other things like, that is just like, for example, the glyph of order, I think, is the one that modifies a craft. Wait, the one that I was talking about was not a glyph. It was here, one of the runes here, I think rune of discovery, which basically, if you have an item that has only one modifier, you can use a rune of discovery while crafting, and it just randomly fills up your suffixes and prefixes, which in PoE you would say that is a bad thing because I only want to have specific ones. But the thing is, like, it's about fortune potential. Every craft costs something. If I say, hey, there's the perfect modifier and it only has one modifier, I'm just gonna YOLO and add all the affixes. And if I say, hey, there's attack speed on it, but I need cast speed, then I'm just gonna re-roll the cast speed with the glyph of chaos and hope that it's gonna be cast speed in the end and stuff like that. So just to give you guys a brief overview, that there are many options to alternate item. It's very simple to craft in that case. It is very easy to make good items, but very heavy RNG, deterministic RNG-based crafting to get the best possible items. So even if you have the best base, if it loses all the fortune power, then yeah, good luck finding another base, you know? So there is the item hunt where you say, I want to have the best possible base with the best stats possible, and you're just gonna farm those bases and try to luck your way to the right stats and upgrading them. There's even ways when you say, like, I'm using a glyph of hope, which is a chance to not use any fortune power, and if I do that, then I have a chance to upgrade random modifiers. So even though I upgraded this one to tier 4 now, I could have a proc that my T1 chance to chill on hit would also get upgraded by 1 tier. So, you know, it's very experimental and very cool thing to do, and I really like this. Good, what else to say? Build choices, build diversity, endgame is there, different forms of endgame, there is crafting, there is customizations, there is everything, like idols and blessings, and so much to discover. And when we talk about the cash shop, it is purely cosmetic, which means, yeah, it's just like MTX, you know, there is no, at least as far as I've seen or encountered, there's absolutely no way of pay to win or anything like that. It's all purely cosmetic. Even the supporter packs are just purely cosmetic, so you will not have any benefits if you spend $1,000 or 0. Basically, you will all have the same thing, just your characters look basically different. And this is something I basically find a bit sad. There is just not a lot of things to buy, because when I started my werebear, I was like, yo, my werebear looks like a werebear, but I want to have like a big, you know, like fiery werebear, black and whatnot, you know. But there are not many things that you can buy on the store. I think this is basically all right now with the supporter packs. I'm pretty sure they're gonna add way more over the time, but this is still in beta and the game will come out in like 3 weeks. Good. I'm very, like, as you probably see on the video, I'm like super hyped. I like to like go out and just try many things and just trying to showcase you guys on what an amazing game this actually is, and I kind of hate myself for not starting it earlier. And it really gives me like this Path of Exile vibes, where I say, hey, there was a time where I didn't want to play Path of Exile. It got recommended to me, and I was like, man, I watched the video, I see sockets and whatnot, and linking and skill gems, and what the hell is the skill tree? I was like, nah, man, I CBA. But once I got into it, and now it's like my favorite and main game since the past 7 years, and I've been grinding it almost non-stop, and I really get like the same kind of vibes in Last Epoch, and they do many things different than in PoE. A lot of things better, but also worse. But this is just like the way the RPG genre works. Every game has like their pro and cons, and things that I like and things that I dislike. But overall, these first couple of days and hours into the game, it seems to be a freaking amazing game, and I cannot wait to just keep on grinding and unlock my monoliths and see what else can I get there, to experience all the boss fights, to maybe get my first legendary and uniques and craftable merges and you know, all these kind of things. Super hyped about it. I can 10 out of 10 recommend you give it a shot. And if you say like, hey, but the game will get released in like 3 weeks, I'm just gonna start right there. I mean, yeah, of course, this is what you can do, or you do it like me. I don't have anything to do for the next 3 weeks anyways, so I'm just gonna enjoy the first ride in Last Epoch. I'm gonna experience the campaigns, the maybe different characters, to find out what do I want to play, what do I enjoy the most, to then start the official release with this one character that I built myself and have just a freaking amazing time. All right. Long talk, but hey, game is freaking amazing. I 10 out of 10 recommend it. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.